Mm-hmm. I'm just going to do a 3, 2, 1 record, okay? All right, you ready? Okay, 3, 2, 1, record. Yeah, you were talking about getting all your phlegm out.
Getting all the cum out. Ugh. Getting all that milk. You know what they say about milk now. I mean, if you drink milk, you're obviously a white nationalist. I just need. I prefer to call milk Hitler's cum, so I had to get Hitler's cum out of my mouth.
I completely forgot the joke that I was going to make.
I am very sorry for doing that. I didn't know you were going to go into a joke.
No, I was gonna transition into a joke, and I just completely Hitler's cum has completely distracted me from whatever it was I was gonna say.
Oh jeez, I am so sorry, dude. Well, oh
my god, does this count as meta shit?
I guess so. I don't know.
Hang on, I'm gonna name the episode right now. Welcome everyone who's listening to the fucking amazing podcast, or for short, FAPcast, episode 003, which I'm officially titling now. Hang on, I gotta get Hitler's cum out of my throat.
Well, that's a way better intro than the intro I was gonna do. I was gonna do a spoof on PewDiePie.
Oh my god, I don't even want to touch the PewDiePie thing with like a fucking 10-foot pole, man. Like everybody's jumping in on that shit.
Oh, it wasn't gonna be that. It wasn't gonna be that. It was just gonna be a generic PewDiePie intro.
Oh.
Yeah. They're like, how's it going, bro? It's like, how's it going, bros? I'm Pubes.
How's it going, bros? I'm Pubes.
When like,
somebody needs to make that a YouTube poop video right now. Just that over and over again.
Oh,
my name is Pubes.
So you're gonna have to help me here, because I'm looking through the show notes, because I go through the show notes of our previous shows just to make sure I don't reuse cool shit. And you have to remind me, in the last episode, did I talk about a colder war? I don't remember much of that episode at all.
Now, I think you might have talked about that on the episode that we lost, that we are currently re-recording right now.
Okay.
But then we also took our cool shit from our last episode, from the episode that we lost. So let me go back through the show notes, and I've actually created a Google Drive folder. We're being all organized this time around. This is a new level of, dare I say, professionalism that we have added to our podcast. Oh my god, what did you talk about? Yes, you talked about a colder war last time.
Okay, I'm gonna assume I did. Yeah, because again, I don't remember a whole lot. And I don't have a problem. The way I see it is that everybody has a problem. They have a massive deficiency of alcohol. So what you gotta do is you gotta quickly build up that level of alcohol, and anything on top of that is just fun and games. I don't have a problem.
I can't do that, unfortunately. You know that.
You can't let your internalized racism keep you down. Get it? Because the joke is that Asian people can't hold their liquor.
I remember the story I was going to tell. So, you were talking about getting phlegm out of your throat before the recording.
Yes.
Here, and I was just saying that I have my water bottle, which I frequently open and drink from while I'm podcasting. It's a Nalgene. And I was gonna tell the story about a friend of mine. So way back when, I used to play MechWarrior Online. I played MechWarrior Online. This was before the introduction of clan mechs, so about 2-3 years ago, maybe a little bit more than that, 3 years ago, 3.5 years ago. And I was part of a clan, and we were pre-tournament. We were getting ready to do tournaments. In fact, we were going to do regular tournaments, but we stopped playing when clan mechs got introduced, because that was when the whole shit show of it being imbalanced and all this shit came out, and the tournaments stopped mattering. Anyways, we had a really tight clan. We had a really good strategy going for us that involved different lances and everything. And I was in the light lance. We were in the light mechs, the little tiny ones that run around, needle things. And my job was, this was before they nerfed flamers. My job was, I had a Jenner. It's a tiny little mech that has three energy weapons on either side of it, so 6. And I only had flamethrowers, which do like no damage.
But it would be perfect in a scenario like Vietnam.
Yeah. And so flamethrowers were used to overheat other mechs. So if you had 6 flamethrowers on you, and you jammed yourself up the ass of a gigantic mech and just unloaded your flamethrowers in them, they would shut down.
That's a really good tactic. That's a really good tactic.
And then my other 2 friends, another one who was in a Jenner with 6 medium lasers, and another one who was in a Cicada with 6 medium lasers, would then proceed to needle the giant's head down until it exploded. And that was our job. Our job as our light lance, our job was to find large titanic mechs that were overextending their bounds, getting too far away from the rest of their group and getting cocky, shutting them down and just decimating them in seconds. That was our job. And everyone referred to me as Sandwich Guy because I always was eating something over the comm, and everyone could hear me, and they would joke about how I was always eating a sandwich, and sometimes it was a sandwich, and sometimes it was just a bag of chips, which I have a bag of chips right here that I'm going to be eating during the podcast. And I would always have my mouth full of food, and I'd be, talking back and forth with the clan leader with my mouth full of food, and she would always say, "Stop fucking eating, you dumbass, and pay attention to what you're doing." But one of the other guys in our team was as much of a fat, lazy piece of shit as I was, and he used to work at a hospital. And so IV racks.
Yeah.
Right. So the hospital that he worked at closed down. And naturally, when something like that shuts down, employees begin to steal things, right? So he stole an IV rack from the hospital that he worked at, and he wheeled it over to next to his computer, and he hung from it 2, 3. I'm not kidding. 2 3-liter Camelback bladders. You know what a Camelback is, right?
Yeah, I have one.
Yeah. It's those backpacks that have the it's a fluid bladder of liquid, and he would fill one with water and one with something like iced tea or soda or not something sugary, because that's hell to wash out, but like iced tea or iced coffee or something, like weak iced coffee, because it was a 3-liter bag. And he would literally just have this thing next to his computer, and one of the bite mouthpieces perpetually stuck in his mouth. And he would just sit there, and you could hear him over the comms. Like, it was like the funniest shit, because this guy was such a lazy fuck that he didn't want to like have a water bottle or a cup or some shit next to his desk. He literally just had a hose hung from an IV rack that he stole from a hospital that he would just drink from.
That's funny, but that's absolutely not surprising, because I know of people who are so into vaping, yet they're so lazy that they just hook up their vaping rig to a car battery, so they don't have to worry about charging.
So they don't have to get up and plug it into the outlet or USB or whatever.
Yeah, so it would like literally it would last them like a fucking month. So,
oh my god,
never underestimate the powers of laziness.
Laziness, much like necessity, is often the mother of invention.
Absolutely. That's that's almost poop socking it there. He's getting close to poop socking.
Now, I will say this. He did not have a bottle to piss in. He would get up to pee.
That's good.
But he was on that level of lazy that I can only fantasize about aspiring to be.
Oh dear.
Oh my god. Anyways,
Sorry.
We're podcasting. This is a recording.
This is a thing we're talking about.
This is the thing we're doing.
It's just like I popped open my iPad because I want to do some drawing, and I'm just looking through what I was looking at last night, and it's like, I finished I drew up a character for like this mock D&D battle we're doing. It's still just bullshit. We just want to make crazy characters, and one of them was I posted it up on my Tumblr, and I've been made nonstop made fun of for this because essentially what it is, it's a nun with a minigun.
It's like from Hitman.
Yeah. And the way I wrote it in my mind was on the one side of her, it says her name, which is Mother Minnie, and then on the other side it's her class, which is Gun Nun. But I totally didn't realize, and everybody's been pointing it out to me, that I did that whole Walking Dead thing, like don't dead open. It was like that whole thing of like don't dead open inside. Because people have been tweeting at me or replying to me like Mother Gun, Mini Nun. I'm just like
Mother Gun, Mini Nun.
I'm like, you know what? That's actually a better name.
Oh my god, you have to make a real D&D character named Mother Gun. It's like I had a hypothetical Pathfinder. Pathfinder, by the way, is for those who don't know. Of course, if you're listening to this podcast, why don't you know what Pathfinder? Pathfinder is another tabletop role-playing game made by a few of the people who were part of the making of earlier D&D editions, and is very similar to D&D 3.5, but actually balanced and fun. I'm gonna get a lot of hate for saying that. But I had a hypothetical character who was an orc bard named Bardicus Fancy Pants that I had drawn a whole backstory for about how he went to Bard College and was the only orc.
Oh, that reminds me of that one little comic on Tumblr of that one orc rogue that rode like +20 on charisma and totally swooned that guard and laying him into the city.
That's a great comic. That was sort of what I was shooting for too. Was that I would have a character who was the skill bitch, who like they weren't terribly effective in combat, but they were effective in all the social situations and all of the skill challenges and stuff. So it's like anytime we had to negotiate prices or something, that was what my character would be for, because that's generally what a bard is for. A bard doesn't do anything terribly offensive in combat, but they have a lot of abilities that buff their allies, make their allies harder to hit, and then all the situations where you're talking to townspeople or whatever, the bard is there with their whatever the name of the skill is that lets them diplomacy, with their high diplomacy and all that. But the joke was that it would be this huge hulking orc who didn't even know the fucking front end of a goddamn axe.
Nice. So you may just notice I sent you a picture of a prime marina with gigantic tits.
Yes, you just sent me some. Does this qualify as poke porn? It's not really pornographic. There's no nips.
I don't know. Maybe. I don't know. Because when I popped up in Discord on my iPad, I just remembered that I was in another Discord channel with a bunch of with a bunch of YouTubers, a bunch of fans and shit, and I'd gotten into a row with a guy because it's one of these YouTube channels or it's one of these Discord servers where it's a lot of like anti-SJW types and stuff, and there's like a shit ton of shit posting and everything. Just nobody takes anything seriously. But there's this one guy who like joined like last night and started going off about the Jews, and it was pretty obvious he was not kidding around. And he was going off about how he was taking an ancestry test and how upset he would be if it came back that he had some Jewishness in his ancestry. Like it was either like he was taking a DNA test or he's researching his ancestry or something.
Yeah, like familytree.org or whatever that website is.
Yeah, something like that. Because he was, again, it's just some alt-right fucking cuck, But I got into a row with him about, like how fucking terrible it would be to be a Jew and everything. And I, because, I can do that. It was just pretty stupid. And then I what ended up making him block me, and then I find out this morning he actually left the server because he found out, oh wait, Sargon of Akkad and all these people, they're not actually Nazis. They're just it's like, oh, these this isn't the real shit. We're all just posers and fakers.
We all just pretend to be alt-right for the lols.
Yeah. Anyway, but what got him to block me was when I pointed out the fact that Al Scorzani spent the last couple decades of his life fighting, doing assassinations for Mossad, hunting down Nazis. Because he thinks that Al Scorzani is a hero to Nazi Germany. And it's like, no, it's more like Al Scorzani was just an opportunist, and he was given an opportunity and he fucking took it. I mean, yeah, it was at the end of, it was at the barrel of a gun from Mossad agents, but yeah, he spent like 20 years with Mossad, and he killed like 3 Nazi scientists who were working in Egypt, and then like 2 high-ranking Nazi officials in South America. And he made a shit ton of money because Mossad was just like, yeah, whatever you can loot, you can keep, and he made a ton of fucking money. So, yeah. Just a quick aside, and this is why I don't take Nazis or alt-righters that seriously, is that if you point out history to them, their arguments collapse right away.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, even with their fucking heroes like Otto Skorzeny, it just collapses right away. So, yeah, don't punch a Nazi, just embarrass the fuck out of them. It's way more effective, in my opinion.
I think we should just bring back the whole pie in the face.
Oh, dude,
pie in the face.
Yeah, pie in the face. That'd actually be pretty. I mean, not like a real pie, because if you get like a real pie, like one of those Marie Callender pies that weigh like 10 pounds, you'll break somebody's neck with that.
No, fuck that. Those are not. You have to spend too much money for that shit. Fuck that.
No, just like a aluminum tin with some fucking whipped cream in it. Perfect. Or gack.
Or just shaving cream pies.
Or that, or gack. Nickelodeon gack.
Yeah.
Just fucking a hose of that shit. Just spray them down. Because it's nothing permanent. It's not going to really stain. It washes out pretty easily, But it just makes him look like an asshole.
But it's the public embarrassment that I think is the real weight behind that. Yes.
It's yeah, because there's this one webcomic guy who I don't really like because he's a anarchist capitalist fucking fucktard. Anarcho-communism and anarcho-capitalism I just don't understand because those are just it's just oxymoronic to me. But his comics he does, a lot of them are pretty good, and the one he has is like, there's just one panel and it's this woman who's behind barbed wire, and she's like talking to this guard, and the guard looks like a Nazi, and he's got like an armband that's like the American flag combined with the Nazi with the swastika. And he's like, "Yeah, we weren't expecting to do all this, but people wouldn't stop punching us."
Oh my god. Oh my fucking god.
And it's just like, I'll link it to you, because you gotta be really careful with Red Panel. He does good web comics, but most of his opinions are pretty shit. But we should probably get out of the meta shit and into the actual topics, I think. What do you say?
Anyways, yeah. Let me just swallow this cum. So yeah, welcome back.
Welcome back
to the Fucking Amazing Podcast, or for short, FAPcast. Today is episode 3. We're actually re-recording what was going to be episode 2, but then we lost episode 2 and we re-recorded it with something else. Decided to hold on the subjects for today, and so we're just sort of revisiting subjects that we've already recorded but you haven't heard because, well, whoops, we fucked up.
And that was mostly on me. That was mostly on me, because I think it was an episode where I was drunk, and the second we stopped recording, I just wanted to shut down my computer and go to bed. And,
yeah.
So I completed that quest. I didn't complete the other part, which was because that's the thing that I'm pretty sure I'm repeating myself from the last episode where I was drunk. But it's like, if you ever pop a dialogue box up in front of me, I totally go like 87-year-old grandma, or not. No, because they actually, old people actually read everything. That's what makes everything so frustrating with them. I play more of the typical office worker who doesn't know shit about computers, and I'm just like, get this box the fuck away from me as fast as possible.
Yeah. Anyways, yes, we got 2 topics lined up for today, which we have collectively titled Business and Aliens. First topic's on me. We're talking about some retail stuff, retail corporations, retail jobs, and things like that. And then MDefMX got a wonderful hypothetical thought experiment for us to follow that. So I guess we'll dive in right here and start this off. This topic, which is retail corporations, retail culture in America, actually comes from a episode of The Jimquisition, which is a YouTube series by Jim Sterling that I watch and enjoy. And he actually did an episode about GameStop that I am not going to reiterate, because I highly suggest you go out and you watch the episode. You may not agree with most of the things that Jim Sterling says. You may not be a fan of Jim Sterling. You may hate Jim Sterling's guts, but I highly recommend you watch this episode because it gives a very glaring insight to GameStop from the employee side of things. And when I say employee, I mean like the guys who run the cashiers, the store managers, those guys, not GameStop corporate. I mean the people on the front lines who have to deal with all the fat Cheeto crusted bitches that come into their store.
Well, it's not so much
you know the kind I'm talking about.
The suburban soccer moms who go in and yell at the GameStop employee because I didn't know Call of Duty Infinite Warfare was gonna be so bloody for my 8-year-old.
Yeah, I don't even know what an M rating means.
What's M? Is that McDonald's?
Is that from McDonald's? Anyways, what I want to be talking about is just sort of general concepts in retail that a lot of people who have never worked in retail might not be aware of. Now, some background on myself. I have worked 2 retail jobs, and I currently work a job in sales. It's not retail like Best Buy or Fry's, but it is a job where I have to fulfill many of the same functions as a retail employee because my job is to sell things.
Okay, I'm sorry, because you were in our first recording. I had that whole scenario that happened to me. I'm just wondering if you want me to repeat it or. Sorry. We should probably talk about this beforehand, before recording, but I just remembered it now. So. Just to get into this, a couple weeks ago, I had a delivery where I had to take a load of products from a hardware chain store, a very large one, from their distribution center up to one of their stores, and literally it was just like go into the distribution center, hook up to the trailer, and leave. They didn't load it. I wasn't there to see the loading or anything. It was completely sealed up and everything. All I had to do was just take it. So I get up to the store. I check in. They tell me, okay, go in back into that dock. And the guy comes out. He checks the seal, and then we break it open. We go and open up the door, and one of the pallets almost falls out. So they had to go. So they literally had to go get a forklift, and because their dock was one of those docks that goes down. So if I went down at an angle, the pallet would have fallen out, and it would have been a big old mess and everything. So they go and grab a forklift, and they pull a pallet out, and boxes are falling off of it and shit, and just a whole fucking mess. And they clean it up, and I get backed into the dock, and I go back and I look in, and it just literally looked like there's just shit thrown in there. They didn't palletize anything. They didn't organize anything. It was just it's like literally watching one of those videos from a guy in the plane, and you're watching the luggage carriers just fucking throw shit around. It would literally look like one of those scenes. And luckily, it was not my responsibility because I didn't load the trailer. The trailer was pre-sealed. So I'm just wondering, is that something you've had to deal with before? And if so, what happens on the store's end when they get something like that?
No. Last time you told that story, you said that you actually went up to one of the store managers or something and tried to explain whenever it happened, that it wasn't your fault that it had been packaged incorrectly.
Yeah, I told them it was it was pre-sealed. I didn't see the trailer inside the trailer beforehand, and the manager was like, "Don't worry about it. We fucking deal with this shit all the time." Yeah.
That's a pretty common reaction because in both of the retail jobs that I worked at, and they're both sort of big box stores, think Best Buy, think Fry's, think Big Lots, Not that I've ever worked in any of those locations. I will not be saying where I worked.
No, that's a very dumb idea that's mentioned where you've worked.
But that kind of shit is common. People who work at warehouses and people who work at distribution centers are either retarded or lazy or both.
Well, see, that's it. Well, and I think I went to it before. It's you don't really there are regardless of your opinion of these places like Aldi and Walmart, they don't let that shit slide. They're they're super fucking regimented and shit.
But see, that's the thing. That's how Walmart keeps their prices so low.
Yeah, it's
everything. They don't lose products in transit. They don't damage products during loading and unloading. They don't lose products to that kind of thing. They're very strict about that, and that is how they keep their prices low. Other stores, not necessarily be the same thing. Especially, electronic stores, and especially stores that carry high value items. Generally, it's not as much. When you buy, for example, when you buy a television, right? The cost of making that television is so high that the actual markup price, that is the difference in the cost it was for the store to purchase it from the manufacturer, and the price that you pay is actually not that different. Because the cost of the item is already so high that they can't mark it up that high. So when you purchase a television from a store, or a high value item like that, or like a PlayStation 4 or something like that, the actual profit in dollar amount
is everything
on that
around
product is very little. The things that they make the most money on are peripherals.
That's why
we brought up the example last time we recorded this of Monster brand video cables.
God, I fucking hated when they had to shill that stuff.
That's why you'll have employees at electronic stores tell you all this fucking shit about how this HDMI cable carries Ethernet, and it's why?
Well, it's not why. It's okay, why? Okay, So you're trying to sell me this monster cable that has HDMI 1.4, which does have Ethernet. That's just the way the standard is.
Mm-hmm.
But it's 3 times the price of this Dynex cable that does the exact same thing.
Mm-hmm. And because it's name branded, they can mark it up. And because it costs the same amount as any other fucking cable, because it's just a fucking cable to make. Maybe the like the plastic bits might be a little bit of a higher quality, but the price difference really isn't that same when it comes to manufacturing. But because they can mark it up so high, because it's brand name, because it has all this shit in it, they make more money off of those things than they actually make from say selling a stereo.
Yeah.
And the most money that's made at places like this are on things like store-based warranties and things like that.
Oh, that shit's like just free fucking money.
Yeah, because they're banking on the fact that you're not going to need it. And even if you do, it's like, whatever, we'll replace it. It's not like it's any real loss in profit to us.
Yeah, because
it's probably worth more, the $30 warranty you bought is probably worth more than the fucking product anyway. So that's why they'll try to sell you warranties on headphones and stuff.
Yeah, because it's like, I mean, even the shit you buy at like fucking Walmart and everything, nearly everything you buy from a store is gonna last you a long time. So it's like you don't need that warranty, but they sell you on that, just in case, you never know.
Yeah.
And even then it's like I know I've opened up so many electronics where like the first sheet of paper you see is which most people throw out, is if there's a problem, don't go back to the store, call us. Yeah. I'm gonna insert the Jim Sterling episode here. The episode of the Jimquisition that I'm talking about is entitled "Circle of Strife," and is a very good look into what retail's like in America for employees, and that's really what I want to talk about today. Yeah, I'll stop talking and let you get into it.
Circle of Strife. So I want to talk about it from an employee's perspective, because I want to give an inside look for consumers on how to navigate things in retail, but I also want to give an inside look to consumers about what it is like for employees to be in this kind of industry. Because let me tell you right now, if you don't know anything about what it's like to be a retail worker, retail work is some of the worst blue collar work there is. Most people will say that most people who have like office desk jobs will say that they hate their job and they wish they did something more active. Every retail and or sales employee that I've ever known like fantasizes about a desk job. They like the thought of having a desk job makes them rock hard.
Let me just interject here, because in Sioux Falls there's a few call centers for like Esurance and Citibank and stuff, and I know a few people who've worked there, and they said one of their favorite calls to get were the angry consumers who would go on long rants, because that meant they didn't have to do their job. Because they could just sit back.
Yeah, because they could just sit there and let the customer rant.
Yeah.
And they didn't actually have to do their job, which is sales. Call center jobs, those are sales jobs.
Yep.
Those are sales jobs. That's why whenever you get a call from like, say Comcast, you've missed your bill and you're late on your payments, and you get a call from Comcast to remind you that you're late on a payment and that they would like their money, the person who calls you always tries to upsell you to a different package, or try and get you to get on auto pay or auto deposit or whatever, is because that's their actual job. Their job isn't to call you to tell you that you're late on a payment. You know that, and Comcast knows that you know that you're late on your payment. Their actual job is to get you to buy something from Comcast to funnel more money into them. And a lot of those people, in fact, I knew someone who worked at a call center for, it wasn't Comcast, but it was a telephone company. And they were actually fired from their job because all they did was their job. which was call people to tell them that they were late on their payments. He actually was fired because in his job, the employees were required to sell a customer, a certain number of customers, an upgrade package to a better phone plan. For it was like they had to do that a certain number of times for every set number of of customers that they called. It was a ratio thing, right? For every 3 customers, you have to sell 1 or whatever it was. It wasn't that probably, but it was something like that. And like he complained about that job because what he told me was, look, it is basically impossible for you to sell somebody something when you're already calling them to tell them they're late on a payment. Okay?
Yeah.
They already know they're late on a payment. They're probably in debt and they can't pay anyways. The last fucking thing they want to hear you say after you tell them, you know, we would really like you to pay your bill, sir. It's going to rack up interest or whatever. The last fucking thing they want to hear you is, would you like a $15 a month upgrade to something else? That's like the last fucking thing. And it finally got to the point for him where he was so tired of being yelled at by customers that he just stopped saying that, and he got fired because he didn't sell any packages. And that story is it exemplifies the point that I'm trying to make today. So let me talk about what the culture is for retail and sales employees. And when I say sales, I don't mean just retail. I mean, like, it can be anything, like travel agencies, they got to sell stuff. Debt collectors from Comcast, they have to sell things. Door-to-door salesmen, okay? The culture for these kinds of employees is one that is wholly sales-oriented. Customer service is supposed to be a byproduct. Now, you want to have good customer service because you want customers to come back, because you want them to believe that you're looking out for them. But in reality, customer service is actually an afterthought. Customer service is just something that you're required to do to meet a quota. The real quota you're supposed to meet is sales. So when you go into any kind of retail store, you have to understand that those employees literally could not give less of a shit about what you want, because their job is not to give a shit about what you want. Their job is to pretend to give a shit about what you want, get you what you want, and then also convince you to get a bunch of other shit that maybe you didn't know that you wanted, or maybe that you don't really need, but if they're a good salesman, they can convince you that you do. That is their job. And I can tell you with 100% certainty that nobody I have ever known who has worked in retail actually likes doing that.
Oh, no, they fucking hate it. They fucking hate it.
I hate doing that because, like, it's not lying, but it's not honesty. For example, say you're going to REI. Last time we recorded, I picked on Best Buy like for the entire episode. I'm going to try and not do that tonight. I'm going to try and not do that tonight. I really don't like Best Buy, but I'm going to try and not pick on them tonight. Let's say you go to REI, right? You know what REI is, right? You've been to REI.
Yeah, they're an outdoor store. Outdoor outfitter.
And you're there because you're going to take and this is a purely hypothetical. I don't know if this is how it works at REI. I've never worked at REI. I've never known anyone who worked at REI. But say REI was a store like the one that I had worked in, and I'll give you a hypothetical situation. Say you're, Joe Schmo, and you want to take a backpacking trip into the Grand Canyon, right? That's a fun backpacking trip. I've done it 3 times.
Yeah,
it's awesome.
So you kind of you do your research. You have an idea what you need. You need like a hiking boots. You probably need a good day pack. Or a weekender pack,
or a backpack, yeah,
or just a backpack. A good. You do your research. And you know what you need to get.
Yeah, so you go in, and an employee greets you, and they're friendly. And if this were a store like the one that I have been in, what we would do first is we would do what's called building rapport, where we introduce ourselves, we get the customer's name, we memorize the customer's name, we memorize as much about them as we can, we look for things in their clothing that we can talk about. Sometimes we might ask them, hey, where did you get this? It looks really cool and I like one, even if it's a complete lie, because it gets the customer to trust you. It's called building rapport. Then we ask them, well, what are you looking for today? And they'll say, well, I'm looking for a backpack. And then, then you can say, well, what are you going to do? And we try and weasel out of the customer what it is exactly they're going to do. And so say they're the one taking a trip to Grand Canyon. So then the employee thinks, okay, if you're going to take a trip to Grand Canyon, you're going to need a lot of water because Grand Canyon inside is desert. You're going to need this kind of backpack because you're doing this many days, you're going to need this kind of shoe for this kind of terrain, you're going to need to get this kind of food because it's this kind of climate. And then the employee is going to mentally go through every product that they can have for you in that store and immediately beeline for the most expensive one. And start with the most expensive one and then work down unless the customer is absolutely retarded and has ungodly amounts of money. And then that's when the employee pisses themselves and thinks, oh my God, I'm not going to get fired today. And they begin getting you exactly what you need and then trying to get you to get other stuff, right? So like, say you already have water bottles, but then we have these really nice water bottles, or we have these camelbacks, or you already have hiking boots, but we have these nice insoles for your hiking boots, or we have better shoelaces for your hiking boots. We have, waterproofing material for your hiking boots or whatever. And the employees have to build this list in their head of all these, what we call add-ons, and upsells. An add-on is when you tack on a product that they didn't want, but might go well with the product that they are getting. And upsells is when you give them a better version of a product they're looking for. Right? Yeah, there's add-ons and upsells.
Yeah, I mean, even though you're not picking on Best Buy, I'm going to pick on Best Buy. It's like if you go in, like, and they have a really awesome sale on a really nice flat panel, really nice TV, like a 55-inch TV, and they sell it to you on like a huge discount, a really big sale. Then they'll tack on the, oh, well, you need the, obviously, this thing is too big to, put on a stand. You're going to want to mount it on a wall. And, well, you can't just have it mounted on the wall in a fixed position. You're going to want to have it be able to tilt and stuff. And then...
Yeah, and then you're going to want to get our universal remote, and maybe you want a sound system for it, or maybe you want an extra patch cable for something,
Yeah.
That's what an employee has to do. And I can tell you right now, like I said, no employee likes doing this. Most people who work in retail, like me, we don't mind the job because officially our job is to get a customer what they want. And sometimes, it won't necessarily be sales-minded, but we might say, hey, maybe you really do want to get an extra cable. And 99% of the time, I usually want to say, look, dude, you're going to need an extra one of these, but don't get the expensive one. Get this cheap-ass one because it's just going to be an extra. But we're not allowed to say that. And when an employee says that to you, it's like 99% of the time it's an employee that has given up on their job and they don't give a shit about their job anymore and they're just trying to help you out. Listen to those employees.
I remember a long time ago that actually happened to me because I had picked up a PS3, and that was back when the PS3 didn't come with an HDMI cable, and the guy told me, he's like, look, it's got like composite cables, so those will work for you right now, but just go to monoprice. I'm pretty sure that dude just didn't want to work there anymore.
Yeah, exactly. Employees are taught whenever you're a new employee to a retail corporation, you usually have to do employee training, and part of that employee training is usually what's called product knowledge, where they talk about the products that your corporation sells. And that's there to familiarize you with everything they sell, because, it's probably a good idea to know what is in a Best Buy before you work at Best Buy. It's probably a good idea to know what's in an REI before you work at REI. But the other part of the training is usually called something along the lines of sales training. And sales training, I'm actually going to be doing my sales training for my current job, which I just got in 2 days.
Nice, congrats.
It's going to be a big 3-day thing. I'm actually really excited for it because I'm finally going to get to sit down and look at all the products that we sell. And I'm actually really interested in checking all that stuff out because I'd like to be more knowledgeable about that so I can actually do my job. But the other part is sales training. And sales training is literally every job I've been in that has been sales oriented. The sales training part of it has literally just been a class in psychology for how to mentally wear down a customer into buying something. Not bullying, not badgering, but these little nasty tricks that you have to learn to get a customer to trust you, to trust a product, and to buy a product. Let me give you an example. I think I gave this example last time, but we had this one that was called the 360 pass-through, one of my jobs. And it was whenever you were to approach a customer, one of the things you could do, instead of greeting them, was to get yourself like a clipboard or something like that, and put some official looking paper on it to make it look like you're doing something. And say, like, you know, if you're in a big box store, like put an inventory sheet on it.
Oh God, I know this. Oh fuck this.
And get out your pen and start writing on it, and walk slowly past the customer as though you don't notice them, and make it visible what you're doing, and then stop, turn around, tuck your device away, and greet the customer and act as though you were in the middle of doing something very important, but you're going to talk to this customer instead because the customer is more important.
So it puts the onus on the customer.
Yeah, and it implies to the customer that they are more important than whatever administrative work you were doing. This is why you will almost always see store managers do this.
Yeah, because the store manager isn't fucking taking inventory right then and there. He's watching his employees. Yeah.
Yeah. You will always see managers do this because when a store manager talks to you personally, you are immediately forced to feel important because the store manager is taking time out of his manager duties, which I can almost assure you at most stores is almost nothing most of the time. Taking time out of their serious manager duties to talk to you, the customer, and find out what it is you want. It's an immediate rapport builder. I've done it many times. It works like a charm. It works even better if you're holding multiple clipboards in one hand and you look like you're shifting through like 3 different reports of something. And if you've got something stapled together and you're flipping through it, and then you stop and then you set your clipboards down and hold out your hand. Hi, my name is, how are you doing today? Can I help you? It works like a charm, and I fucking hate it. It makes me feel dirty when I do shit like that. There's another one we did that was called the takeaway, where I'm sure you've done this. And I'm sure that if this has ever happened to you, you have found it exceedingly annoying, because it is. Where you go into a store and an employee walks up to you and asks you, "Hi, can I help you find anything?" And you say, and you've probably said these exact words, MDFMEC, you say, "No thanks, I'm just browsing."
Yes, I've done that.
That phrase is infuriating to a sales employee.
Because it's true. It's true.
Not because the sales employee doesn't want to hear that. The sales employee doesn't give a shit if you're browsing, okay? No one cares if you're browsing. And if it were my store and I had a family-owned store, I would say, yeah, sure, fucking browse all day if you want. Because the longer a customer stays in the store, the more likely they are to buy something. And it's like, well, if you're just going to browse and you're going to stay in the store and build up your own desire to buy something, I don't even need to fucking stand here. I'll just run the cash register and you can get whatever you want.
Build up your guilt.
Exactly.
For sitting in the store that long.
Yeah, exactly. But in today's modern retail sales employee culture, that's the worst fucking thing you can say to a sales employee, because then it means they have to work at talking to you. Because a sales employee in many stores is not allowed to walk away from a customer who is, quote unquote, just browsing. They have to talk to them. In a lot of places, they have a script that they have to go to and pretend like it's not a script. And they can't just go, oh, you're just browsing. Okay, great. I hope you find what you're looking for. You know, if you have any questions, just ask. Like, that's the one thing you always want to hear, right? When you say I'm just browsing, you always want to hear the employees say, oh, okay, well, you know, feel free to look around. If you have any questions, just ask. Like, right? Like, that's what you'd want to hear, right?
Yeah.
Because, like, dude, if I have any questions, I will talk to you. Let me sit here in silence and look at these products and compare it in my mind. You know, and I can guarantee to you, a sales employee wants to say that to you, because they don't want to have to go through whatever godforsaken script that they have to read from memory, because it's asinine. Anyways, we had this one called the takeaway, which was whenever a customer said, no thanks, I'm just browsing, we had to reply with, oh, that sounds great. What are you looking for in particular? And I hated that. I fucking hated saying that, because 9 times out of 10, the customer would then turn to me and say, will you just let me look? And look at me like with this, you get the fuck away from me, you salesperson. And I'm sitting there thinking, like, yeah, that would be my reaction too. I'm very sorry, ma'am, but I have to say that or else I get in trouble. And it's like, okay, yes, ma'am. You know, if you have any questions, just ask. Like, and it's at that point that we're allowed to detach. But we couldn't at that job. We couldn't detach from the customer without replying with basically those exact words. And almost every time it would piss the customer off, because wouldn't that piss you off? Wouldn't that piss anyone off? Like,
yeah, because you're asking me the same question over again. And
in a different way and taking it back around. It's disgusting. And what's even worse is sometimes that would work on a customer and I'd be like, oh my God, I can't believe you're so stupid. How can you be such a stupid, like, so many times I have sold things to customers and I have felt angry at the customer, because so many things about capitalistic society and sales-oriented culture, which is not something I necessarily disagree with, so much of that relies on consumers being smart, right? Because a smart consumer is what drives companies to compete with each other, and competition drives invention and lower prices. It's necessary for a capitalistic society to have competition between businesses, and competition between businesses must have smart consumers, because if you have dumbass consumers, then there's no competition. They'll just buy the brand name. They'll buy Beats not even fucking knowing what's in their headphones. You know, and so I would occasionally sell like ungodly amounts of things to customers, and I would get so mad at the customer, because it's like, ma'am, you were allowing me to take advantage of you, and I don't want to do that, but I have to, because my manager's standing over there watching me, and if I don't take advantage of you right now, I might get in trouble. But God, how can you be so fucking stupid to let a salesperson do this to you, you dumbass? Like, and I would get so mad, and I fucking hated it. It was super annoying. Anyways, what I'm trying to say is, when you deal with sales employees, please keep these things in mind. 1, they are there to sell to you, so be suspicious of them. 2, please be suspicious of them quietly. Because I guarantee to you that employee knows that you're suspicious of them, and that employee knows that you probably know that they're going to sell stuff to you. And that employee probably doesn't really want to take advantage of you, but they have to, because their boss is standing 15 feet away, or their boss is watching them from a security camera, and if they don't do their little script and attempt to sell you something, they get in trouble. And in some retail stores, people are hired and fired based on sales numbers. And, you know, there are some stores where not meeting a certain number of or a certain ratio of sales, or a certain number of promotional items or whatever, is grounds for termination. And I can tell you right now that no employee really wants to sell that shit to you, but they have to, because they would also like to keep their job.
Let me tell you something, and I don't want to make it sound like I'm trying to make Walmart out to be this great place. It's not. The Walmart's fucking garbage. I hate Walmart, but they know how to run their shit. 'Cause the thing you notice when you're in Walmart is that the workers there almost never interact with you. They unless you obviously look like you're lost, they won't engage with you most of the time. They're actually out there to do a certain specific thing, and them talking to you is something that they shouldn't have to do. But yet, going to like REI or Cabela's or because there's no REIs in South Dakota. We have Cabela's, or like going to Best Buy. I've never been upsold on anything. Like I go in there, I get exactly what I need, and I leave. I don't buy anything extra. However, when I go into a Walmart, I may know exactly what I want, but I often buy shit that I didn't even think about buying. Because they lay out their store and they present their store in a way that entices you with shit you don't need. So their stores do that sales tactic for them. They don't need their employees doing that. Their employees are just there to, be cashiers and clean the store and just stock shelves and everything. That's all that the employees are there for. They lay out the store in a way that it just upsells you on everything. You go in there to buy like a gallon of milk, you come out with like a fucking bag of chips and a fucking new pair of shoes or something. And the thing is like, and I actually found that really interesting how they did that. And what I actually learned is, we make out Walmart to be like this American thing, like the only reason Walmart works is because it's so American. This is just the American way of doing business. No, it's not. The way Walmart basically took their whole method of business and their whole store layout and everything from European hypermarts. Like Carrefour.
Yeah, and Eastern philosophy as well. There's a lot of basic and some advanced feng shui that goes into the layout of a Walmart.
Yeah, Walmart is way more European because because I've actually read into it. It's like their whole idea of like those standees that they have like when you go into the Walmart, you generally have like 2 lanes. Like from the entrance, there's 2 big lanes, and they put those pallets in the middle and stuff that have just like shit that you could just pick up and throw in your cart and not think for a second about it. And they had like the end caps and stuff. That all came from when wasn't the founder of Walmart, but one of the members of his family took a trip to France and went into a Carrefour hypermart because they were doing it over there for years before it was even done here. And Walmart just basically took the idea and brought it over to the States. So yeah, Walmart may be iconically American, but the way they run their business is not American. Is not American in the least.
The iconic way of running an American business is Best Buy.
Yep, Best Buy's. Yep.
Best Buy, and it used to be Tiffany's as well, the jewelers.
Yeah.
Very American. Because the American way is customer service first. Well, we pretend that customer service is first. So the point of sale is always the interaction between an employee and a customer. Because the employee has to build that personality for the store. And then sell to you by talking to you so that you're not being sold to by a building. That's a wholly American philosophy. And the truth of it is that, like I said, customer service is not first. Customer service just pretends to be first.
Yeah, and then, again, in the case with Walmart, they just run under the philosophy of just hyper-efficiency and knowing you're going in there for a certain amount of items and then just attracting you with a bunch of other shit by just putting it in front of your face. And then you have Aldi, which I don't think Aldi's out there in California yet, but they're all over, the Midwest and the East Coast, where they're just like, we know you don't have Aldi doesn't bullshit you. They're like, we know you don't have a lot of money. You're in here to get food. Let's just make that as efficient as possible.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And that's I mean, Walmart and Aldi get a lot of hate. They get a lot of hate, but they know exactly what the fuck they're doing. That's why they're all over the goddamn place. And God, one of these days I want to just get into one store in particular. I know I've never worked for them. I'm pretty sure you've never worked for them. But I've had to deal with them. Is Safeway, because I fucking hate Safeway. I hate that store so goddamn much.
Yeah, that's all we have out here. Safeway, Lucky's, and Albertsons.
Fuck Safeway. Fuck Albertsons as well. But Safeway, oh god, God.
But you have to remember also at the same time, Walmart and Safeway, Lucky's, Albertsons, places like that, those are not sales jobs that those people have.
No.
Those are stock boy cashier jobs, completely different.
Yeah, completely different.
And those guys do their jobs. If they do their jobs well, then the customer always likes it because it's efficient. You pay for what you need, and what the customer basically sells to themselves. They go and they get what they need. Maybe they get something else that's positioned in an opportune way. The employees don't give a shit how much you buy because they get paid the same amount, and they get looked upon by their boss in the same way no matter what.
Yeah, it's like basically as long as you don't get into a fist fight with the consumer, you're doing okay. Which has happened. God, God. I know you've watched them, the Black Friday videos, and it's like,
yeah,
you see those videos, and they're always at Walmart, where it's usually a fat Walmart. It's essentially the same people fighting each other. It's just one person has the Walmart vest on and one doesn't. And it's usually just a fat woman, two fat women, one in a Walmart vest, just fucking duking it out with each other, pulling on each other's hair, slapping, punching. And I watch those videos and I'm like, this is fucking anarchy. This is just anarchy.
Black Friday is anarchy. Black Friday, we always see those tweets from people, hearts go out to retail employees today, this Black Friday. Jim Sterling makes that tweet every year. My deepest sincere apologies for anyone working retail today. That's not a fucking joke. Black Friday is the worst.
Yeah.
Black Friday, nobody wants to work Black Friday.
Well, and
I can guarantee to you. And it's not because they want to go to another store and buy stuff. It's because they don't want to be in any store ever during Black Friday.
It's not even because of the fucking holidays. And it's like, oh, I could be at home with our family. It's like, no. Black Friday is when consumerism is at its worst. And nobody wants to deal with that.
And no employee wants to deal with it because it's the worst.
That's why
holiday times are the worst for sales employees, not because they have long hours and don't get to spend the holidays with their families. That is an insult to the real injury, which is consumers during holiday times.
That's why I'm really glad that there's starting to be a backlash against Black Friday, where it's like now consumers are like the stores that try to force their employees to open up on Friday morning, or worse, Thanksgiving evening, like a lot of consumers will just avoid stores that do that. And I hope it takes off, because that shit needs to fucking end.
Yeah.
And
So
and
going back to what I was saying earlier.
Oh, sorry. Go
ahead.
Well, I was going to say really quick, and it's like the thing the one like silver lining in all that was how for years like Europeans, like British and German people, would always gloat about how awful consumerism was in the States until the concept of Black Friday came to their countries, and holy shit, it's just as bad over there as it is here. And it's like, you put an arbitrary day where you just mark everything way the fuck down with a few key items that are super cheap. Everybody just turns into fucking assholes.
Yeah, everybody becomes fucking werewolves and tears each other apart.
Yeah.
So going back to what I was saying earlier about dealing with employees, I want to make two major points. Like I said before, always be suspicious of a salesperson. Please never be suspicious to their face, because you have every right to be suspicious of a salesperson, because a salesperson just wants to get you to buy stuff, because most likely they have sales goals that they have to meet. And all they see when you walk in is a bag of money, and they want to empty it as much as possible because that's what their job is. They don't enjoy that. So, be as suspicious as you want, but please be kind to retail workers. People who aren't kind to retail workers who are just trying to do their job, there is a special circle of hell that is reserved for you, and I will see you there. Like,
you'll be there with the pineapple.
Yeah. Yeah. But that brings me into my next point, which is customer service reviews. I am never going to say that you should forgive poor customer service. You shouldn't. You should never forgive poor customer service, because every retail corporation makes a promise to you that they're going to have good customer service. And if that's not given to you, you have a right to complain. However, please be aware of what good customer service is. Not being able to give you a discount is not bad customer service. I can't tell you how many times I have tried to explain to people that I can't mark a product down because I'm not a manager. And they've gotten angry at me and asked, literally every time, same words. So is this what good customer service is? And it's like, I want to punch you, you fat piece of shit, because they're usually fat. And it's like, look, ma'am, or sir, I would mark this product down just to make you shut the fuck up and get out of the store, but I can't. I can't do that. I don't work corporate. I don't set these prices. Employees don't set prices. And, most of the time, employees don't even get their own employee discounts on things. Like, there's nothing they can do. So, a rude employee, that's one thing. That's bad customer service. An employee who won't give you a discount because they can't, it's not bad customer service. And that leads me to my next point, which is customer service reviews. You often will get, when you go to a retail outlet, doesn't matter which one, if you make a purchase that meets some sort of arbitrary requirement, like maybe it's over $50 or something, at the end of your receipt, it will say, go online, do a free customer service review, and earn a chance to win a gift card or something.
Or like, yeah. Usually
most people don't do those. In every single job I have worked in sales, those things are almost as important to an employee's ability to remain hired as sales calls, are those customer service reviews. When you give a customer service review, oftentimes the employee who did your transaction, if this is a high sales oriented kind of store, like if in a situation where the employee who does your transaction at the counter is also the employee who sold you everything and talked to you, whenever you're in a store like that and it prints out a customer service review and you do that customer service review, every job I have worked at, that customer service review is permanently attached to that employee in the company database. So when you review customer service of a store in that kind of situation, whatever that review is, it reflects on that individual employee. So, and oftentimes getting enough bad customer reviews is grounds for termination, often instantaneous and automatic in some places with that employee. So if you go through a transaction with an employee in this way and you get the customer service review and you go online and do the customer service review and you give all zeros because the products are too expensive in their store, congratulations, you may have just fired an employee. And not the guy who sets the prices, just the guy who ran the cash register and tried to sell you stuff.
I think you should also note, because I'm pretty sure this is how it is with most of those surveys, the only thing they look at are the numbers. They don't really care. Yeah. They don't care about what you type in the suggestion.
Yeah, nobody looks at the comments. The only times, in my experience, the only times they look at the comments are when it's either really good or really bad and they want to see what they said about the individual employee. If you write products are too expensive or store did not have what I want, the employee gets in trouble because it is the employee's job to convince you that the prices are good and that even though we don't have the exact product you're looking for, I have a better alternative. That's their job. They have to do that. So when you say in a customer service review in this kind of situation that the store did not have what you wanted, that doesn't change what the store has. All it does is the territory manager gets angry at the employee for not being able to convince you that the store had what you wanted. Also, there is no middle ground with these things. Every job I've worked at, the customer service reviews, they've usually been something along the lines of on a scale of 0 to 9 or 1 to 10 or 1 to 5. The only numbers that matter are 1 and 5. Well, actually, no, that's not true. The only numbers that matter are 5 and anything that isn't 5. There's no middle ground. In one of the stores that I worked at, you had to get 100% on your customer service reviews because anything less than 100% was considered a failure. So you could get 10, 10, 10, 10, 9, and that would be a bad customer review on your record with the company. One of the companies I worked with, it was scale of 1 to 10, and any average less than 8 was considered a failure. And so, and you could, and these things, in all the jobs that I worked, these things were actual grounds for termination. So if I got a customer service review that was like 10 customer service, 10 employee friendliness, 10, 10, 10, 9 product was too expensive, that was a failure. That was one strike on me, one step closer to being fired. And it was the most nerve-wracking thing. In some stores in that company, I shit you not, if the customer was angry and the receipt printed out, and it was this location where the receipt didn't print out for the customer, it printed out for the employee. So the employee would have the receipt first. In one of the stores in our company, they would tear off the customer service reviews off of all the receipts, especially if the customer was angry, and say something along the lines of, "Oh, sorry, it printed out an extra thing," or "Oh, it printed out part of the previous person's transaction," and they would save these things and go home and just do them. And just give themselves reviews because they were terrified of letting customers do customer service reviews. Because in that company, even if it was 99999, those weren't 10s, it was a failure. And now in that particular company, they weren't as strict about firing employees after a set number of things, but the territory manager would ride the manager after a certain number of not 100% customer service reviews, and the manager just didn't want to fucking deal with it and said, "No, I'm not going to deal with that. I don't have time to talk to the territory manager for 3 hours on the phone to explain why I got a 90% on a customer service review." And so what I'm trying to say is, when the employee is a fucking terrible employee and is rude to you, or is racist, or is, not doing their job, is lazy, by all means, give them zeros on the customer service review. Those people probably deserve to be fired. If you're angry at the store, and it's a situation where there's nothing the employee can do for you, please don't do a customer service review. I can guarantee to you that nobody at the corporate level ever sees those. At best, it goes to the territory level, and usually only for the territory manager to decide whether or not to punish an employee. It doesn't change the stores. It might make you feel better, but if you're doing it just because you feel better, fuck you. These people work for minimum wage most of the time. Fuck you.
Sorry, I'm just like looking at this picture of that Prime Arena I sent you. I'm trying to draw that mouth.
Anyways,
sorry.
That's enough of me ranting about sales culture. I think it really all just sort of boils down to, please be kind to retail employees unless they're dicks. Then don't say anything to them and try and get them fired, because fuck them. They're supposed to be nice to you.
Just a quick aside. Whenever I go to Walmart, they give you that survey, or if you fill it out, you can like buy one get one on a sandwich or something. Mm-hmm. And I usually fill those out because hey, it's free food. And I usually give like 5s all across because it's fucking McDonald's. As long as the place as long as there isn't like gunshot holes in the windows. And
you're talking about McDonald's, not Walmart.
Yeah, McDonald's. Did I say Walmart? I meant McDonald's.
Yeah.
As long as all the lights are working and the toilet's flush and there's no like gunshot holes in the windows or the walls. I usually give them a 5 out of 5 because it's fucking McDonald's. It's the same everywhere. But what I'll do, because I know they don't fucking read the comment section, is that in every part where it asks you to put some like words in, I just say bring back the McBurrito and bring back the McBagel.
The McRib.
Or the McRib, because it's like they don't fucking read it. They don't care. Like you said, all they care about are the numbers, or like what we said.
Yeah, that's all they care about are the numbers. 9 times out of 10, all the territory managers care about is numbers. That they just look at spreadsheets, and those spreadsheets determine sometimes whether or not somebody gets fired.
Yep.
So be aware of that.
Yeah, and be aware that these guys don't get paid $15 an hour. They get paid whatever the minimum wage is. Yeah. Anyways, God. You've got a topic for us, and we've got about a half hour or so till we reach 2 hours. Yeah, that's roughly. Okay, so
or no, it's only been whatever. Doesn't matter.
Whatever. Who cares? So. God, to get off your depressing topic and get onto my topic, I'll just call that for now. Let's say that at some point we get contacted by an alien species, and they're not hostile or anything. They're actually they take it upon themselves to make sure they've been observing us, and they take it upon themselves to clearly communicate their intentions, what they want to do, and so that we don't get a situation where like they like blow up one of our cities, and it's like, oh, sorry, we meant to say hello. Because that actually happens a lot in like really shitty sci-fi, where it's like they don't realize that when two civilizations are meeting, the onus is on the civilization making the greeting to make sure it goes through without a hitch. But anyway, I'm rambling. So let's say like this alien race like contacts us and everything, and they look at us and they're like, you guys need some help. They're like, you obviously need some help. Lots of shit is kind of fucked up, but you definitely have potential. So here's what we're going to do. we're going to give you schematics for a very simple, very easy to construct fusion reactor. And to make sure that it's equal, they don't give it to any one government or corporation. They publish it right on the internet. They put it up on the Internet Archive. They publish it on social media. They make it easy, and it's so easy to construct that any small group of fairly competent engineers could construct one. And it's easy to reverse engineer, and it's super easy to improve on. And it basically it really just answers our energy problems because it's cheap, reliable fusion power. And they also tell us they're not going to give us any designs or blueprints or schematics for this, but they tell us, hey, just so you know, faster than light travel and communication is possible, and here's some clues, and here's some roads you might want to go down that'll help you reach that goal of faster than light travel and communications. And by the time you discover it and perfect it in a way that you can reliably use it, you'll be ready to handle it. Because again, that's giving somebody a lot of power, and if they're mature about it, that's better for everybody else. And you may ask them like, well, why not just give it to us? And well, they say, well, we just fucking told you the first reason. The second reason is we've come across races who just don't want to. Believe it or not, there's some races who just want to hang out on their own planet and not be bothered by everybody else. That's a concept. Anyway, the only thing they ask for in exchange is the DNA samples from various humans around the world. And they're like, don't worry, it's no big deal. We just take a little patch of skin or a little blood sample or swab the inside of your mouth or whatever. That's all we want. We're not going to ask for anything more. Just give us this, and you can have we can have it. You can have everything we promised, and we'll be on your way. And we'll see you in a couple centuries when you're ready to you're ready to go out into the stars. So we do that. And they take samples from about like 1 million humans from all across the world. Different ages, different races, different nationalities, different continents, all that good shit. And they take off. And fast forward, a couple hundred years later, we finally cracked that code. Or not cracked the code. We finally figured out the secret behind faster than light travel and communication. We start exploring our where we live and everything, and we start spreading out, and we run across this civilization again, and then we it's coming because you heard this before. And we find out that it's not just them. There's like this whole galactic, not civilization, just like all these civilizations across the galaxy and everything. And this is this huge big thing. And they're like, welcome, you made it, awesome, welcome to our federation, and all this shit. And we start interacting, we start trading, delegates, and we start getting to cultural exchanges and all that shit. And then we find out that we find out that, well, for the past couple hundred years, the most popular delicacy across the entire galaxy is vat-grown human flesh. And I just was wondering, and not only you and bullshit, but I guess anybody listening to this, what would you feel about that? What do you think we should do about that?
I believe this bears this requires some context. Now, they are growing human flesh to eat, but none of it is sentient, correct? It's not real whole humans, just, moisturize me, patches of skin.
Yeah, it's sort of like how, like, if you have ever played Fallout 4 and you go the cannibal route and you build or like you watch Robots' Fallout 4 meat factory videos where he like throws corpses into this machine and it processes it into human meat, and it's like these big, it's like, it looks like these big gigantic thighs of meat, hunks of meat that couldn't possibly have come from a human. It's just like these gigantic slabs of meats. And it just so happens to be human meat, but it's been vat grown and it's never ever actually been a part of a human body. It's just human flesh, So it's never. It just so happens that the most favorite dish in the galaxy is human meats. That has been vat grown, and they actually. In their federation, you find out it's a common thing that's sort of it started from this original civilization where that was a thing they did, and that every other civilization has had the same thing happen to them. It's like there's like a whole menu of meats consisting of these different races. It just so happens that humans are the most popular. Yeah. Shit,
dude, to eat me some aliens? Fuck yeah, dude.
Yeah.
Like, okay, so in this hypothetical society, I'm sure there are people who would have a problem, like a moral problem with this, but I'm gonna be real with you right now. An opportunity to eat alien flesh is too good to pass up.
Yeah.
Like,
totally.
It's too good to pass up. Like say this was fucking WildStar. No, bad example. Not a lot of people play that. Let's say this was fucking Mass Effect, right? Dude, like, would you eat a Turian? Or what are they called? Turian? A Turian? I would totally eat a Turian.
Oh, yeah,
dude.
Like,
they taste like snake.
Yeah, like throw them in a big lobster pot. Yeah. I mean, not like a real Turian. I mean, yeah.
Like, yeah, just like, Turian flesh. Or, what the fuck were those, like, they were like those jellyfish ones that... spoke telepathically, and they were trying to spread their religion.
Oh, I know which ones you're talking about.
Yeah, I can't remember what they're called.
Yeah.
Dude, I would totally eat one of those. I would totally eat one of those, dude. I bet they taste just like octopus.
Oh, jeez.
Like, I'm salivating just thinking about this, but the opportunity to try foods never before known to man would be such an incredible opportunity. Like, I wouldn't even give a shit. Like, I'd be like, dude, is it gonna kill me? Who cares? I would want to be the first one to eat alien flesh. Like, hell yeah.
Jeez, everybody else would be like, I'd be the first one to fuck an alien. You're just like, fuck that, I'm just gonna eat them.
Yeah, do it at the same time. She's gonna eat human, I'm gonna eat whatever she is, and then we're gonna bang, like, while we're doing it, dude. Like, I'm sure that's a fetish somewhere, and I'm sure that if we had the opportunity to do that, it'd probably be my fetish. Just saying.
Okay, how would you feel? Okay, here's a little addition to that. How would you feel about, and I'm actually taking this from was it the second Purge movie? I think it was, where there's like a group of like super, super wealthy aliens, and they're like, we're super rich and all this shit. We're really influential, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And they're like, we want to try the real thing. And in this whole federation, what they want to do is illegal. It's terribly illegal. But what they offer, they look at some humans, because again, our society has improved greatly, but there's still people out there who are incredibly poor. They're racked with debt and stuff. And they go to these humans and they give him an opportunity. They give him this opportunity of, hey, we will completely clear out your debt. Your family will owe nothing. And your family will actually be set for life. You know, your kids or your grandkids, they can go to the best school that they want to, all this shit. We'll basically take care of your family, but we want to try real human flesh. Do you think that's okay to do? For humans to, like, basically give up their lives in that way? I guess you could... So, I guess that could be a situation that could be applied to... There could be many different situations like that where that could happen.
So here's the thing, like... I don't know. Like, maybe. Would you do that for your family?
There's actually a lot of people in my family I don't really like, so probably not.
Like, I don't think I know anybody who would do that for their family. I'm sure there are people who would do that for their family, but I don't know anyone. Like, here's my thing, right? So, whatever. If you want to do that, like, that's fine. I feel like maybe there's some societal problems that need to be addressed first that were responsible for getting the family into that kind of position. But, like, yo, dog, if you want to let people eat you to lift your family out of poverty, like, I'm not going to tell you how to live your life.
Oh, yeah, I just as I'm remembering back to that fucking, Rammstein made a song about it. Those two fucking guys in Germany, the cannibals. Oh God, those people who like whose fetish it is to be eaten. This is like the perfect situation for them because they're fulfilling their fucking fetish to be eaten. Oh my God, that's going down a road I don't want to go down. Fuck that. Holy shit. So yeah, I guess we're totally cool with that. I mean, I guess if anybody's listening to this and they have something to say about, write in. Let us know what do you think about this quandary. You know,
yeah. So we're gonna talk. I mean, like at the end of every episode, we give a set of links, and one of the links, of course, is to our main podcast Tumblr. Our asks are open there. You can even anonymously, if you don't have a Tumblr account, or whatever, you can send a message there. You can also comment on the YouTube videos that we're gonna be posting these on. Even if you're not listening on YouTube, maybe you're listening to something else, because we're gonna try some file hosting experiments. But yeah, we would love to hear what you have to say, either in YouTube comments or in Tumblr ask form. Like, what do you think about this hypothetical situation? Because I just salivated at the thought of eating fucking alien meat, dude. Like,
oh yeah, I can't think of like one area where people would have an issue. Is the fact that they wouldn't tell us what they were doing with our DNA. I think that's where people could say like, well, this is kind of fucked up. But even so, I think the rewards, the pros outweigh the cons. I mean, even if they didn't tell us anything about faster than light travel, I think the fact that we would have cheap fusion energy is worth it, because that would solve so many of our problems, just to have cheap, reliable fusion power. So, sorry, I'm done now.
Okay, with that, we move on to our cool shit segment. As always, everything we talk about or link during our audio podcast is linked and talked about in our show notes. You can find a link to our show notes on our Tumblr blogs for each episode post, as well as in the description box for the YouTube videos. But in the show notes, we have our cool shit segment all nice and labeled with all links to everything we talk about. As always, I will start us off this week. My first cool shit is a YouTube channel. The username for which I cannot pronounce, but the guy's name on Google is Thew Atoms, and he refers to himself as Thew throughout the entire channel. And the general title for this channel is Thew's Awesome Transformers Reviews, which actually isn't accurate. He doesn't just do Transformers reviews anymore. He does a lot of other stuff. I actually found him through a video he did of an unboxing of Munch Pack, which was actually how I found out about Munch Pack. But he primarily does videos about Transformer toys, as well as all the knockoffs and spin-off toy lines. He's got this really great upbeat tempo to his voice. The music in all of his shows is actually awesome because it's all done by his metal band, of which he is the drummer. And I think also vocalist. But he has this series in here called, what's it called? I'm looking at his playlist here. Knockoff Beatdown, where he gets angry about Chinese knockoff toys. And they're hilariously awesome. And this guy is really, really passionate about toys. Like, it's rare that you meet a guy who is so passionate about Transformers toys, but this guy knows fucking everything about Transformers toys. It's actually a very interesting and informative channel, and his later videos, like, 2015 onwards, are all actually very well produced, and he has a great voice for what he does. It's actually really interesting. I'm gonna link an episode for him, Def Mech, here. It's his latest knockoff beatdown called the Christmas Knockoff Chew Out, where it just came out this last December, where he talked about knockoff toys he found in the Christmas bargain bins. It's actually a really interesting episode. So, Thew Adams, Thew's awesome Transformers reviews. Check out the channel if you're interested in toys. He does also have a very good Munch Pack unboxing video on there where he talks about snacks and stuff. He's a rather large man. So,
we have the same beard.
Yeah, this kind of remind me of you a little bit. He in his earlier videos, he had like really long shoulder length hair.
Oh god. Well, I got a haircut, so I don't look that savage. All right, cool. I'll check him out. I'll check out this video, definitely. All right. My first cool thing is something that it's funny. People always complain about YouTube recommendations, about why the fuck did YouTube recommend this shit to me? I'd never watch this. It's like, yeah, you totally would watch this. That's why you're watching it right now. You're commenting about how much you fucking hate the YouTube recommendation system. Because it finds shit you want to watch, and that's how I discovered this video, even though this video is several years old. It's American Greatest Hits by year, 1840 to 2013. So I want to say about 173 years of greatest hits from each year, which I'm surprised they went that far back, and I'm kind of dubious as to whether or not, like, the very, very early ones, like before before the Civil War, if those were really the most popular songs of that year. But I'll cut him some slack, because what I really like about this video is how it sort of shows the zeitgeist that was going around at those times. Like you could tell, like, when it was a time period when, like, America was expanding, and there was like a lot of like a lot of westward expansion, and Manifest Destiny and all that stuff. And then you could tell, like, okay, the tensions are high, and oh shit, it's the Civil War, and oh, the Civil War's over, Johnny's coming home, and all that. And then like when certain economic factors were happening, like especially like with the Great Depression, and then the Dust Bowl, and World War I, World War II, all that shit. The thing is, I will say personally, the music is really fucking boring up until about 1893. It's incredibly boring, and in 1893, I forgot the name of the song, but it's like a really good song from 1893. I'm like, wow, I would actually listen to this. Everything else is just like, this is just boring background music. It's really fucking sucks.
It's a really interesting, because I actually, after you sent this to me earlier today, and I actually watched the whole thing, it's actually a really interesting look into the mutation and evolution of music. But it is really funny to see, like, man, dude, like, how antiquated some of that shit is.
And the thing I noticed is like you'll get time, and for a while you'll get periods where like you could tell where the music was really pushing forward and they were trying new things, and then it would pull back, it would regress into like the old, and you saw that a lot like before World War II, where it's like one year it'd be like you get like big bands, like that one famous big band track I can't remember the name of right now. It's like, wow, that's really something new, like compared to what I was to the previous years. And then like a couple of years later, it regressed back into like fucking 1870s like gospel hymn or something, because the fucking Great Depression happens and people were scared, so they went back to what was familiar. But there's like a super drastic change at 1968. 1968, everything fucking changed. It was after that it just is just like a constant push forward into something new. And then it happens again in 1990 when hip hop becomes mainstream. It's just this constant push. And another thing I want to point out is that music's pop culture has always popular music has always been kind of shit. And it's always been that way. It's just whatever was popular at the time. Because I imagine, like, I didn't read the comments to the video, but I imagine a lot of people are like, oh, music wouldn't really, fucking Eminem and Macklemore being the greatest hits. Oh, it just shows you how fucking terrible music's gotten. It's like, it's always been fucking bad. It's just whatever's been popular. I'm pretty sure, people would have said the same thing if they were watching this video in like 1957, and they only went up to 1957, and they would be like, oh, music was great back in the 20s. It just really went to shit when Elvis showed up with his fucking Negro dancing music. It's just it's just the zeitgeist. It's just what's going on at the moment. That's all it is. It's really cool just to look back and I'll say it again. 1893 was when American music got its personality, because before that it's just boring as shit. It's just yeah. It's fascinating. Go check it out. I hope they update it, because actually, I will say the 1 year where I was just like, that was kind of shit was, I think it was 2012, because it was Gangnam Style. And I was just like, yeah, that was a bad year. That was a bad year for music, if that was the best thing out there. So, I'm done talking.
Okay, my next piece of cool shit here is a video from the Tested channel on YouTube. It's called Adam Savage's One Day Builds Vsauce Glasses Hack. Now, Tested is a fun little channel, and they have a series on here called Adam Savage's One Day Builds, and it's just Adam Savage, the guy from Mythbusters, building stuff in a day. There's a video where he does a Totoro costume. There's a video where he does a sci-fi rifle. There's a video where he mods a Nerf gun to look real. There's a bunch of stuff really, really cool, very similar to stuff like Man at Arms, that series where they would make video game weapons.
Oh yeah.
Or Michael Cthulhu's forgery channel, where he does the same kind of thing but makes longer 40-minute videos that are actually very interesting. But Adam Savage's One Day Builds is really cool. But I wanted to talk about this video in particular because it actually outlines something that's really awesome that Adam Savage is actually doing now in his post-Mythbuster era of his life. The video is of him and Michael from Vsauce, which many of you are probably familiar with. It's a very fascinating channel, very cool host. Definitely check out that channel as well. But in this video, he makes a microphone for Michael from Vsauce that fits into his glasses, and it's actually the microphone that Adam Savage has been using for about 2 years now. That a friend of his suggested it to him, and he actually modded his glasses to have a microphone in them. It's actually quite surprising because the microphone does work very well, and you can't even fucking see it.
That's
and
really
his reasoning
cool.
for doing it is that way the wires go out the back of your head. There's no wires visible to the audience, and when you need to do something like take off your shirt, all you do is you take off your glasses and then take off your shirt. You don't have to fiddle with a microphone that's attached to your shirt. So he decides that he's going to make these glasses for Michael from Vsauce because Michael and Adam Savage together are actually going on a national tour with a live show called Brain Candy, which I am very excited to hear more about. I may actually be able to pick up a showing in San Francisco. I hope I can. But it's sort of like a live Bill Nye-like show, if you will, with an internet personality and Adam Savage from Mythbusters. Anyways, the video is very interesting. He shows you how he actually fits a microphone into the guy's glasses. It's a really neat video. I highly suggest you check out the series on Tested, Adam Savage's One Day Builds. It's actually really cool.
I kind of want to put out a recommendation here. If you have YouTube Red, check out Michael's series called Mindfield.
Oh yes, that's a really good one.
Yeah, okay. I'm not too sure how it works with YouTube Red if you can watch the first episode for free or not. But the first episode he does they talk about isolation, and holy shit. Like, if you're completely without simulation, you just, like, decay as a human being really fucking quickly. If you have absolutely no simulation. Yeah,
if you don't have YouTube Red, you can actually watch the first episode. I actually got YouTube Red because I watched the first episode for free and wanted to see the rest of it.
Oh, yeah. I will say that's the only series I've from YouTube Red I've really liked. I only have YouTube Red just so I can easily save videos offline on my phone and iPad. That's the only reason I have it, and it's a lifesaver. It's awesome. Especially on my bandwidth.
YouTube Red is definitely really awesome. But like if there were a reason for you to get it, I honestly have to say Michael's series is really interesting. It's very cool.
Another quick aside, because I follow Michael on Twitter, and I also follow like people like iDubbbz and H3H3 Productions and all them on Twitter, and I just love the fact that Michael is just as much a fucking shitposting troll as the rest of those guys. Because he does not, he does not show that at all on Vsauce. But he hangs out with fucking Ethan from H3H3 and fucking iDubbbz, and it's fucking funny because they post like little short videos and it's good. It's good. Michael's just a really awesome dude. He's a kind of presenter you could just tell he's like completely into what he's doing. He's into what he's doing. He just fucking loves doing it. And I appreciate that in the host. I really do. So, on to my final thing. My final thing is I'm a big fan of Warhammer 40K. And I'm starting to become a fan of Warhammer, but I'm not like a typical Warhammer fag. I don't like the main thing about these series, about these games. I don't like the actual tabletop wargaming, which is like what these things are. I like the video games and I love the lore, but the main focus of these series I don't have any interest in whatsoever. I'm wondering, am I alone in that, or are there other people who are just like, I don't give a shit about the figurines, I don't give a shit about the tabletop wargaming, but I just like listening to stories about, the Emperor and all that shit.
A lot of people are actually very invested in the lore of Warhammer.
Okay, good. So I'm not a minority, I hope. There's this guy on YouTube called Arch Warhammer, or just Arch, and He's this Norwegian dude who has a really, really awesome accent, and he makes these really long videos where he just is like, I'm gonna take this thing from Warhammer 40K or Warhammer, I'm just gonna talk and talk and talk about it, and it's really interesting. He makes it really fascinating, and he spices it up with a little bit of humor, like he just, and he's on more of the offensive side, so he'll just, he'll straight up call, he calls the the Eldar a bunch of twinks, and he calls the Dark Eldar a bunch of sadomasochistic, faggots and stuff. But he does it in a very lighthearted kind of way. This guy's basically like, there's another channel which really gets really heavy into the lore called Vaults of Terra. But Vaults of Terra, they're very clinical. They just, he doesn't really interject a whole lot of personality into it, but he's very factual, and he sticks to the facts, and he just reads off what these things are. Arch puts more personality into it, and I appreciate that. I appreciate it when somebody can explain this thing that goes on within Warhammer 40K, but also makes it kind of funny. I totally dig that. So yeah, Arch of Arch Warhammer. Go check him out.
I'm just going to check that out, yeah.
Yeah, his orc videos are very good, because, again, orcs are fucking amazing. Warhammer orcs are way better than Warcraft orcs, let me just say. I will say that. Because, yeah. They're fungus. They're literally mushrooms. They're giant walking mushrooms that punch a lot and just beat the shit out of everything.
In Divinity Original Sin, the accent that they give the orcs and a lot of the design is actually very inspired by Warhammer, which I really like. It's kind of awesome.
Yeah, that Cockney accent.
Yeah.
But yeah, and actually Arch has gotten me really into Warhammer itself, which is Warhammer itself is like a very tame version of Warhammer 40K. Warhammer 40K is like, you compare the two and it's like, wow, Games Workshop just really stopped giving a fuck when it came to Warhammer 40K. It's like they just did everything. So yeah, check them out. It's awesome. Go give them a listen. So
all right, with that, I think that wraps up our third episode of the Fucking Amazing Podcast, or for short, FAPcast. You can find our podcast Tumblr at fapcast.tumblr.com. That's FAPcast.tumblr.com. As for myself, I'm in bullshit as always. I think we forgot to introduce ourselves today.
No, we introduced ourselves today.
Did we? Well, I don't remember now.
I called myself Pubes at one point. Whatever.
We were too busily gargling all the Hitler cum.
Yes.
You can find me at mbullshit.tumblr.com. That's mbulsht.tumblr.com. I also have a Twitter under the same name and a YouTube under the same name.
All right, and I have a sort of a main website where I just... It's my personal blog, and it's also where I just have links on my social media. It's dumpster.moe. I also have a link to my YouTube channel where right now I'm sort of doing commentary, but I also want to do more videos that are just, I guess, take more effort or are more creative, and I'm working on that. Also have my Twitter account, and I have a link to my Tumblr where I post up artwork, and some of it might be not safe for work, so be careful with that, and there might be some pictures where there's very big boobs squirting out a bunch of white nationalism, because that's what I'm into. Not the white nationalism part, the boob part. Bye.